Well, here we are. Welcome to this episode of TAC Tik Talk. I'm Dr. Joe Busch, editor of the American Chiropractor magazine, along with Jaclyn Touzard, publisher. And this week, we are joined by a legend of chiropractic, Dr. Kenneth Murkowski. Dr. Murkowski's CV is way too long for me to summarize in this brief introduction. Dr. Murkowski, can you go ahead and highlight some of the points that you like to focus on? Introduce yourself, please.
I'm going to interject because somebody, like you mentioned, a
Mm.
living legend like Dr. Murkowski deserves, a little bit of an introduction because I wanted everybody here to know before we hear even a word out of Dr. Ken's mouth is that he's one of the American Chiropractor's original editorial board members. I mean, you can put all of the other accomplishments you might have aside, but that I'm sure Dr. Murkowski, tell us a little bit more about you and all the other accomplishments. But I wanted to welcome you on our TikTok today, and thanks so much for joining us. Tell us a little bit more about your life embodiment of work that will kind of set the precedent for our call today.
Well, before I do that, I just want to say that it was a real privilege to work with your dad and be on the editorial board. And it was an honor to be on the cover of your magazine and have a story about myself. And to me, that was one of my better highlights. Working with TAC all these years has just been super. I think you guys, your magazine is not only timely and informative, but to me, in my opinion, it's the best one in our profession today. You give so much to the profession, so many different ways. And I think if more people would just take the time to go over all the articles and things in the magazine, many chiropractors will learn so much more.
Mm-hmm.
So
Excellent. Well, that's because we have people like you who help us to be able to curate the content and continually bring forth articles that are important for the progress of the profession, Dr. Murkowski. And even as recent as last issue, we had articles on ethics and malpractice, your MAPS articles. Can you talk a bit about those?
sure. Basically, this July 6th of this year, I'm celebrating my 53rd year in active practice. I've
Mhm.
been teaching
Amazing.
continuing education for 50 years, and I've been reviewing malpractice cases in the United States and Canada for 36 years. And it seems to me, it's just my opinion, that in the last few years, doctors who have been in practice like 12 years or less have sort of forgotten about chiropractic and how we practice and why we practice legally. And what really sort of tipped the scales for me was there was an article in a thing called Trial News in 2024 about two chiropractors and a lady patient. Both chiropractors were treating this lady patient. She
Mm-hmm.
stroked out. The big malpractice case. The problem was that basically the issue was they didn't accuse the two chiropractors of giving the lady the stroke. Both chiropractors, the jury really liked. They really came off very well in trial. But the issue was they just kept telling her that it was parasympathetic effects and everything else. They failed to realize and recognize the 5Ds and the 3Ns. And the jury award on that, let me just grab it real quick here, is $10,906,984 to a stroke victim because chiropractors failed to recognize the critical signs and symptoms. They didn't say anything about their adjusting skills. They didn't say they caused the dissection or the aneurysm. It was they didn't recognize or diagnose on the go. So it just seems like so many young doctors, especially, and I hate to say this, in some of these pop-up franchises, their documentation is terrible. It's terrible. I've got 15 cases on my desk right now. And I mean, the federal government has come out with a new term called note bloat, and the insurance companies are picking it up. And everybody thinks your EHR system is going to protect you. It won't, because most people are just cut, paste, drag. And I had one case where there was 4 doctors, same office, treating the same patient. There was 50 visits, and every soap note was identical, and that's physically impossible to defend in court.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Is that because of the EHR? Is that it was
Yes.
identical, or they just put
Well,
copy
I
paste?
have to say yes. And I think it's I hate to say this, but I think it's because maybe I'll use the term laziness. I mean,
Mhm.
every time you buy an EHR system, you have the opportunity to put in your own things utilizing the macros and things like that. But if you don't want to take the time, you just want to run in, run out, take your money and
Mhm.
push the button. That no, there's not one EHR system that's going to defend
Mhm.
you in a malpractice case, in my opinion. You have to have that personal touch, those personal doctor patient notes that you put in on every visit. That's what it's all about.
So, Dr.
Mhm.
Murkowski, you're an expert witness, or are you working with the feds, or how does that work? I mean,
No,
what's your participation or role in those
I'm an expert
cases?
witness, and a lot of
Hmm.
times I'll get lawyers calling me, and they'll send me the cases which are redacted, and
Hmm.
I don't know who's doing what. I just call them like I see them, and everything is based on the records because that's what we have to go on is our
Hmm.
records. But if you're not keeping good, accurate records, that is a major issue, and that's what gave birth to my what I felt was my obligation, my duty, my moral obligation to the profession that I love so much to do the map articles. That's why I came up with
Well,
those 12 map articles, and I've got a few
mhm.
more articles that'll follow that if you guys are interested. But again, this is just getting out of control. Um, Malpractice cases are on the rise, and it's not that probably 98% of the chiropractors or the CAs did anything wrong, but it also has to do with our economy. When
Mhm.
especially the Biden economy, when the economy's down, people are out of work. They're not working. They want quick money, and all you got to do is turn on your TV, turn on your radio, look at the lawyer ads, and everybody it's like, hi, it's 1-800, let's sue them, and they're not targeting anything else but doctors. And these attorneys got to eat too, and the only way they eat is to make a lawsuit. So what happens then is if you don't have the records to defend yourself, and the way I teach it in all my MPC seminars is every piece of paper in your file or every on your documentation is like a brick. The more brick walls you have, the better you can have on defense for yourself and your patients.
Now you got
Mhm.
acronyms all over the place. What does MAP stand for?
Malpractice Advanced Protection Shields. I'm trying to shield the
Hmm.
DCs and the CAs. It's malpractice advanced protection. And in my articles, I talk about what is chiropractic legally. I mean,
Hmm.
talk about the definition of subluxation. There's over 300 definitions of subluxation, but there's only one official definition of subluxation, which the ACA and ICA agreed to in 1987 in Carmel, California. And then I was chosen. Uh, Actually, I helped write that definition. I was chosen then to represent all the chiropractors and go to the World Health Organization. And that's when I wrote the ICD-10 codes and represented everybody for 12 years on the
Okay, and you
ICD-10
mentioned
code. So
perfect,
that
and you mentioned your MCP seminar. Now, what is the MCP seminar?
that's the my seminar company. It's Concierge Coaching. I do state conventions. I do
Mm.
coaching for individual offices, and then if a doctor has a malpractice problem, they call me. I can have them and their attorney sort of call me and try to walk them through the minefield.
And then with a nightmare case like a stroke, every patient is a potential stroke, right? It's like
Yes.
uh, getting
So
struck by lightning. But so, what would be like your top? What should anyone listening right now that wants to insulate them from, you know, becoming a victim of a lawsuit of that nature? Is there something that you can just say right now? You know, do these
yes,
three things on every patient or four
what I would
things.
say is that you have to do what we call the pillars of practice. And the
Hmm.
pillars of practice are real simple. You have to do a comprehensive case history with the patient. Make sure you do the review of systems. Then you have
Hmm.
to do a comprehensive exam. I've got records where the doctors today aren't even doing height, weight, blood pressure, checking bruise, nothing. I've got doctors that are diagnosing all kinds of things, but there's no supporting documentation. Once you do that comprehensive case history, review of system, comprehensive exam, then you got to do your comprehensive other testing, for example, your x rays. I always try to tell people that chiropractic is a very specific science. And not only is it a specific science, we have a specialist. We have specific diagnosis, which is the vertebral subluxation complex, with its 8 physical components, 8 chemical components. Then you have to do a really good report of findings. I have to say the usage of informed consent, which was in my second MAP articles in TAC, clearly outlines how to use informed consent properly and legally. And then the last thing is pick the technique that's safe for the patient and make sure you document but follow the technique protocols. I had one malpractice case where the doctor, she specifically said that she could palpate 13 subluxations in a row in 3 minutes with one hand behind the patient's back and then document all that in less than basically 180 seconds. Now, that's pretty much impossible. But those are the kind of answers that come out in depositions in court. That's what's hurting our profession in a malpractice case. So the MAP
Definitely.
articles are designed to help the doctors maybe get a refresher course from school or re-educate them as to what's legal. Remember, chiropractic is philosophy, art, legal. It is what is legal plus your, spine. So it's philosophy, art, legal, and spine. And you have to follow
Dr.
the pillars of
Murkowski,
practice.
absolutely. So you go around, you do a lot of lecturing on this topic. You even, before we started this, you mentioned that you were in Europe talking about some of these topics. Is the malpractice climate in Europe similar to the United States, or how do you see their variation compared to the version of the
Europe is
U.S.
not as
versus?
litigious as the United States. Remember, in the United States, like I indicated earlier, that Europe is basically not as to the point where they have as much litigation as we do. Again, in the United States, we are a very litigious society. I mean, no matter where you turn, it's litigation, litigation, litigation. And like I said earlier, with the economy down, people not working, they want quick money. And those TV ads simply say, if you think your doctor did something wrong, you call them. It's like 1-800, let's sue them. And unfortunately, maybe the doctor didn't do any wrong, but if the doctor doesn't have the correct documentation, he or she will have a problem. And one of the key issues is, of course, the usage of informed consent. And remember, you're taught. It's really ironic that in every chiropractic college and university, you're taught how to use informed consent properly. It just seems like when you walk across the stage and pick up your diploma and you open your own office, all of a sudden you forget how to use it. I mean,
Right.
I've got doctors trying to have patients sign informed consent in a waiting room before they even meet the doctor. And you do that, you're going to lose the case because every judge and every jury in every malpractice case I've ever been involved in expect the doctor to meet the patient, have a consult with the patient, examine the patient, diagnose the patient, give them alternative care options so they can make an informed consent. How do you do that before you see the doctor?
Oh,
Absolutely.
good question, Doc. I didn't know that was poor form. I had no idea. I think all medical doctors do that.
Well, actually, they don't. I mean, especially all the ones I'm familiar with. I know I just helped the new president of the of operations in my town of the hospital here in my town set up a new chiropractic board. It's the first time they had a chiropractic board, so they have 6 doctors now that their employees can go to. But one of the
Hmm.
key things that the president of the hospital operations wanted to make sure is that every chiropractor that I helped recommend for the 6 positions did exams and x-rays because they are saying, and this is a
Hmm.
medical doctor, how could a
Hmm.
chiropractor accurately diagnose a subluxation complex without an x-ray? I mean, it's got
Hmm.
8 physical components, 8 chemical components. A vertebrae can
Hmm.
only go superior, inferior, right, left, and basically posterior and inferior. It's you can't do it without you can't get a specific X-ray listings to do a specific adjustment without a specific X-ray. That's where X-ray
Well,
Well,
mensuration.
that would totally be different than a lot of schools teach it today. I mean, you
Oh,
graduated in a different era. At this point in chiropractic, some of the schools try to dissuade you from taking X-rays. Jaclyn, go
and
ahead.
you're
What
right.
were you going to
You're
say?
right. They
Mhm.
also there's a lot of schools that don't even want the doctors adjusting with their hands. They want
Mhm.
uh, different kind of instruments. I don't have a problem with instrument adjusting as long as it's done properly. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The key is to give the patient the best quality care that we can give them, because
Mm-hmm.
chiropractic is not about selling adjustments. What
Mm-hmm.
we're offering is we're offering them life. We're offering them
Right.
health. And when
Right.
you offer somebody life and health, you don't have to sell anything. People want to be well.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And Doc, I wanted to jump in too because I'm not sure if you've already covered this, but I know right before we got on the call, and this, when you talk about x-rays, I do recall hearing over the years about how people are trying to limit x-rays being included in coverage for chiropractic care, and the use of x-rays. And now you're saying that's one of the pillars of practice, and doing a thorough diagnosis. So tell me, because you were also mentioning about some insurance companies now who are cutting the amount of coverage for chiropractic care.
Well, what's coming up, everyone,
Or
I'm
maybe that's
sure,
two subjects. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, there were a couple of subjects there, but Cigna and Aetna, you mentioned that. Yeah.
October 1st is when the revision of the ICD-10 codes come out. Well, it's also the prime date that Cigna and Aetna and a number of other companies are what they call trying to when you submit a claim, they want to down code your level 4 and level 5 exams, which is your 99204, 99205, 99214, 99215. The word on the street from my contacts at Aetna and Cigna is they're going to down code by at least by $52. Now that's going to hurt a lot of chiropractors. But now, again, there's a lot of ways you can take that and fight against that. There's key phrases you have to have in your SOAP notes. There's some documentation that's required. There's some key phrases that you want to put in the patient's records. And again, back to one of my original statements, if you're just pushing a button on an EHR and it's cut, paste, and drag, those key phrases aren't going to be there, and you're going to face financial reductions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, that'll definitely impact a lot of guys out there. So how does the way that patients experience their risk vary between insurance versus if they're doing a cash practice? Do you have a thought on that?
Yeah, what I try to offer when I do the state licensing seminars is I tell them that they need practice options. And
Mm-hmm.
practice options are relatively simple for me to address. Let's say you take the average mother who might be a single mom with two kids,
Mm-hmm.
and she's got to get the kids ready for school, make lunches, get the kids to school, go to work. After school, she's got to go pick up the kids or leave them at the daycare center and then come in for her adjustments. So let's say you tell her that this is a cash practice and you can pick any amount you want. Let's say something simple, $50. And
Mm-hmm.
you're going to have her come in 3 times a week for 4 weeks, then reevaluate her because you're supposed to reevaluate after 12 visits. I know because I'm the one that set that standard with Health and Human Service and the Healthcare Financing Administration with a woman by the name of Regina Walker years ago. And that's when I also testified in front of Senator Kennedy at the Watergate building on chiropractic and how it functions. But it's very difficult for a single working mom with two kids to come up with basically $150 a week for 4 weeks, which is $600, and then
Right.
Mm-hmm.
have her come back for another 4 weeks, especially when she has some type of insurance, and tell her, but you don't accept insurance, you only have cash practice. So you have to
Mm-hmm.
have what I call practice options. If a person has insurance, try to utilize the insurance at least to what their benefits are. After that, if you're going to do that, you may have to do something like CHUSA or something of that nature to come up with something for
Mm-hmm.
them to make
Mm-hmm.
sure they get the care they need. But a lot of doctors, I'm sure, are focused on their student loans and their payments and things like that. So I understand the glamorous things about cash practice, but you got to think of the patient also and what the patient's financial situation is. And remember,
Mm-hmm.
we're here to provide love and service to the patient. We're here not to sell adjustments, but to give them a healthy
Mm-hmm.
lifestyle and give them a way to
Mm-hmm.
make sure they and their families and their children are healthy.
Most definitely. And Dr. Murkowski, over the years, I've often heard, I know chiropractors tend to be, well, at least in my family growing up, and I know many of our authors who contributed over the years have always just said, well, go cash practice as an answer to all of the craziness of the insurance world. But then I also hear if you don't have doctors who see the problem being part of the solution in changing the insurance injustices so that they do favor. I mean, the patients rely on insurance. That's just a fact of the matter. That's why people have it. That's why it exists.
Well,
So that's what I'm really, yeah,
you are
excited to hear
you
because you're part of the people in the system who's making the difference.
right. You're absolutely right. And just look, if everybody was so concerned about cash, look at why is our profession, the ACA and ICA, working so hard to get Medicare law changed? They want
Hmm.
equal access. They want us to be able to practice what we are taught, and we want equal reimbursement. That's the
Hmm.
same thing. That's one of the things why chiropractors have now attacked, or not attacked, but gone to the DOJ. These ERISA bills, these ERISA plans, sort of circumvent the state laws and some of the other laws for reimbursement for chiropractors. So we should be equal access, just like any other medical doctor or osteopath. We should have
Hmm.
equal payment for the services we do. We should have equity in everything that of every service we provide, and especially in the last 50 years of in chiropractic, there's been so many advances, not just in tables, but just the things that we do. We've got the lasers, we got the shockwave therapy, we've got the disc decompression, we've got all these different advances to help patients, but we need to get paid and reimbursed for them. And
Right. They're
when
all
you
like
limit something,
experimental when there's a significant amount of data that would support it. I've always argued like if you want to treat more than 10% of the population, right? I mean, they have to have access, and that's people need to be reimbursed for the care they're providing. But we were talking a little bit about your role with the Michigan unification of those associations there, and then you mentioned something about Nevada. I think that they did get some kind of parity agreement with the governor there recently. So, I mean, there are glimmers of hope for
oh
that type of a model.
yes, I have to say that well, currently my son is the president of the MAC, so
Hmm.
I don't know of any other state that's had a father son 1-2 punch president, but he's
Right.
president of the MAC, and we just got done with a large fight in Michigan where we now are to do the DOT physicals. We have a thing about all the athletic physicals for the high schools. We do have an issue coming up with a couple of insurance companies like Blue Cross and Blue Shield that we're going to address shortly. But again, it's just like President Trump said: fight, 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 fight.
Yeah.
Chiropractors can never, ever stop fighting for what's right to protect our history, our heritage, our practice, and our patients' rights.
Yes,
Well, you
because
took the
Michigan,
words right out
especially.
of my mouth. And I wanted to make you just jumped in there with your I was going to do a whole big drum roll about, the who's the upcoming president or the incoming president of the MAC and the only what is it? The only father son duo at the MAC. Tell me, how does that go, Dr. Ken?
That's going very well. I have to say that I'm very proud of all my children. I have three. All three are doctors. Two are chiropractors, and the other one's specialty is autistic children. So
Wow.
I mean, I can't say that's probably my best accomplishment in chiropractic is to have three great kids who are all doctors and two are chiropractors. I mean, I've been
Wow.
blessed in so
Hmm.
many ways. I mean, I remember my first adjustment when I was a little kid was by Russ Earhart
Wow.
when he was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
Hmm.
My personal chiropractor when I was playing football and rugby was Clarence Gonstead. I've been very
Hmm.
blessed in so many ways. I was like a second dad to me was Monty Greenwald and also Jim Parker.
Hmm.
I mean, I've been very, very blessed. And, so have my children. So they, like you and Dr. Joe
Hmm.
and the rest of your family, are raised in chiropractic. And that's sometimes rare today. But,
Hmm.
it's a real pleasure to see that chiropractor, the new chiropractors are what I consider our future warriors. And there are many,
Mm-hmm.
many chiropractors that are trying to protect chiropractors. But again, there's so many, it seems like younger doctors who've been in practice 12 years or less that are very concentrated on the basic, cash. And I understand about the student loans, but they can't forget what we stand for and why we should practice. And that is to give hope, life, and a different way of life to people who are tired of drugs and surgeries, and they're looking for alternative care. I mean, we
Mm-hmm.
don't sell adjustments. We sell a different type of life of health.
Definitely. And Doc, actually, too, we are so blessed, honestly, that all of your years of work fighting to keep chiropractic, in the health insurance and fighting for chiropractors in the insurance field. I mean, that's amazing because even at these summit meetings that we sit in on, they'll say, chiropractors now, like you said, many used to be coming in referred or second generation or third generation. Now they're finding more students are coming into chiropractic off of a Google ad. Like they didn't have any experience in chiropractic at all. But then now the challenges they're facing is making ends meet,
Sure.
and where they're saying that other healthcare professions may be offering more in the case of income and reimbursement, so that chiropractors and chiropractic tends to lose out if we don't fight for the parity that you're looking for in the malpractice and the coverage and the insurance coverage, so that we get more doctors coming in, make it more lucrative, and make it more accessible for the patients.
Well, that's why I said that we have to continually fight for our rights. I mean, we are the largest, like I said in my first MAPS article in TAC Chiropractic, we are the largest non-drug, non-surgery healing profession in the world today.
Mm-hmm.
But so many people really don't understand what we do. And one of the problems is again, we have so many mixed messages. We have
Mm-hmm.
chiropractors that are in every seminar, in every MPC seminar that I teach, one of my first questions I asked, are you a pain doctor or are you a vertebral subluxation complex doctor? There's a big
Mm-hmm.
difference. There's nothing wrong with relieving a patient's pain. That's great. But then what about the people that want to have bring their children in for the earaches? What about there's research. We do well with earaches. We do well with the research on high blood pressure. We do well with all these other issues with the stomach and the extremities. So again, are you a pain doctor or are you a vertebral subluxation doctor? And the other thing is, you've got maybe 2 or 3 minutes in what I call the adjusting room, and that's your
Mm-hmm.
time to educate the patient. You're not there to talk about the weather, the sports, or anything else, or going fishing. When they're laying on that table and you're running your hands on their spine, you're telling them this vertebrae, yes, this nerve controls your stomach. That's why you're having these stomach problems. This vertebrae controls your problems for your body. You're there to educate the people, because when they leave, they're going to go home, turn on the radio, TV, and all they get bombarded with is drug commercials. The Wall Street Journal had an article
Mm-hmm.
before a child goes to first grade, which is 7 or 6 years old, they got 30,000 hours of drug commercials in their brain. We have to combat that with 2 or 3 minutes of education every time they come in the office.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And in a recent interview we did with Dr. Lou Sportelli, he was saying and explaining to us, whereas in the past it was through litigation and lawyers, and now the real um, tool that we have in chiropractic is research.
Right.
Research for chiropractic. And so, but you need doctors like you who've been around this long to say this is the research that exists, because for all the great research that we have supporting chiropractic, there's all these advertisements bombarding to try to erase all of it. I mean, that's really, at the end of the day, we're fighting for market share in the health field just to get people to go into chiropractic first.
Well, I think that's why I'm so much appreciative of your magazine, because your magazine is one of the only avenues that we have right now to get this information out. And that's why it's
Mhm,
such a privilege and honor for me to contribute to the magazine on a regular basis with articles, because we
mhm,
need to get as much information out as we possibly can for all the different avenues available for the
mhm,
doctors and the CAs. I mean, your CA
mhm,
is your first line of defense. He or she is going to make or break you at that first phone call or that first opening when that person comes in. And I
mhm,
mean, it's like we used to say at Parker seminars, love and service. That's what it is. Because chiropractic, in the way I explain it, has two hands. Right hand is love and service. Left hand is business. They come close. Don't get them confused. But you got to
Yes.
utilize both of them at the same time.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Dr.
Definitely.
Murkowski, awesome all that you're doing with the profession. Can you talk about how a listener that's interested in hearing you speak, where can they meet up with you over the next 6 months?
You can call the office 517 784-9123. You can drop an email, Dr. Murkowski at yahoo.com. You can send us a fax, 517-784-9150. I do a lot of different, of course, like I said, MPC is a concierge coaching
Mm-hmm.
thing. So I do a lot for my clients. I go personally to their office. But again, I do a lot of different state CE seminars for license renewal. Like I'll be speaking at the MAC this weekend, couple weeks in Nevada. So I go to different states, and I've got certain subjects. The big thing right now that I guess everyone's having me come in and speak on is what we call spinal concussion, because I've got doctors running around saying, oh, whiplash, whiplash. There is no whiplash. Whiplash is not a diagnosis. How do I know that? There's no ICD 10 codes. What is whiplash? It is a mechanism of injury. What does it result in? Spinal concussion. And that spinal
Mm-hmm.
concussion has at least 88 different documented things that can happen to a person. And I have that in a book with over 500 medical bibliography to substantiate that for the doctors that they can use in depositions in court. So a spinal concussion results in WADs, whiplash associated disorders and syndromes. And there's an 88 document with such as traumatic brain injury, eye problems, all these different things can be caused from spinal concussion. Whiplash is a lay term. Spinal
Mm-hmm.
concussion is the diagnostic term. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
when people say, "Oh, you slipped a disc." Well, discs don't slip. We know that
Right.
because they don't slip. They're hyaline yellow elastic cartilaginous material attached to the end plates of the vertebral body. You have a disc protrusion. You have a disc prolapse. Lay people say slip disc. Diagnostically, protrusion, prolapse, different classifications. So, our
Mm-hmm.
doctors got to take the patient that they take those lay words, give them the diagnostic words, and educate them on all levels.
Mm-hmm.
Outstanding. So that's what you'll be teaching. Do you teach on that at the MAC, or is that
Yeah, I'm
one of
teaching
the?
at the MAC this coming weekend on
Wow,
Sunday on spinal concussion, and then on October 25th in Nevada. And I'm sure you can come to Nevada if you want, enjoy Las Vegas, go to the seminar, pick up your license renewal credits, and have a good time, and we'll see you.
that sounds outstanding. However, we're not going to make it, but they
What
probably
seminar
will
is
not
that
hear
in
this
Nevada?
before.
It's for the
No,
it's for the
Jacqueline's not
Nevada
allowed to go to
Chiropractic
Nevada,
Association.
I was
Jacqueline's
like,
got work to do. Here,
I'm
Kay.
like, Joe, there's another seminar in Vegas. We always go to the one in February, but now there's another one.
Well, yeah, and I think you basically should come and talk to the doctors about their unification. So it'd be a great story for the TAC.
Doc, you're going to
Oh,
have
we
to
have
be
a
one of
great
our
story there.
TAC ground floor correspondents for me if I
Please,
can't make
yes,
it
we need to
this
get you on. We need to get you a mic and walk around there and
Yes.
interview people.
Yeah,
You
you're
know
my
what? I'll see what I can do, and I'll definitely see if I can get a statement from their new president for you. How's that?
perfect. That's exactly what we want.
Outstanding. Yeah. Now, who's their new president there? Is it
Dr.
Dr.
Teddy Sim in Las
Okay.
Nice.
Vegas.
Outstanding. Well,
All
cool,
right.
man. I'm excited to hear what comes of that. And everyone who's listening, don't miss or be sure to read all of the malpractice advanced protections article that
Jeez.
Dr. Murkowski is writing over the last 6 months, and I think the upcoming 6 months. As a matter of fact, you can find it online, digital.theamericanchiropractor.com. Just put in the maps, and usually it'll pop up. Uh, so, Dr. Murkowski, thank you very much for your time. Do you have a website that people can go to so that others can learn more?
Yeah, we're doing it right now because we have so many different new products. We have all the new books, the new diagnostic charts, the new forms that's being done as we speak. I also am working on a new project for making informed consent easier to use in all the offices. And we're doing a special thing on revamping informed consent for the profession.
No web
Informed
address
consent
yet,
has never been so exciting as this past 30 minutes. I'll tell you that, Dr. Murkowski.
Well, you know what? It's always a pleasure, and I just can't tell you enough how much I appreciate the TAC and what they do for our profession. And again, your work and your publication is probably, in my opinion, the best in our profession. So you don't, ever relinquish what your dad started, because it was just a pleasure to work with him too.
Dr. Murkowski, it's a labor of love here, right?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So we thank you. I mean, we just are honored that there's doctors like you who have been out in the field all these years, because we need the clinicians like you who stay in the game and keep showing up and passing on the knowledge and accumulating even more. So thank you for your service.
Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
And thank you for everyone listening. Look for the articles in the upcoming The American Chiropractor magazine in your mailboxes shortly. Have a great day.